Welcome, friends, to another Reapers Review. Doug Turner joined with Michael Spill Sanducci and Stephen Kid Flick Hido. We love having our guests. Spill, thanks for joining us again, man. This is going to be great. So today we're jumping into Scorsese rankings, but actors or actresses in his films, not the films themselves. This is something Steve pitched, an idea you had, and it's different, it has a new wrinkle to it, so we like it.
Yeah, so many great performances in his movies. That
it's another beast in itself. But I like it because, certain directors you don't see anything on, but certain ones, Scorsese, Tarantino, you see a lot of rankings, and there's just a lot of discussion in general. So this sets it apart a little bit.
Yeah, and we've got a catalog going back 50 years to work with.
Yeah, so, it's a lot of actors, a lot of great performances. Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm going to jump right into my number 10, and we're going back quite a ways. Mean Streets with Harvey Keitel.
Nice.
Love it. I always love Harvey, but to me, this is one where Scorsese is transferring himself onto the screen more completely than in other areas. I know they say that you, as a director, it's always a piece of you up there, but Scorsese has so many wild characters and characters that just aren't him. And drug dealers and detectives and whatever, kingpins and whatever else. This one, I feel like Harvey is the most of a transplant of like Marty up on the screen. Harvey's engaged in it. He's funny. He's good on his own, but he also plays a great straight man to De Niro's crazy Johnny boy in the film. And he just really grounds the film, and you get the classic shots kind of on him at the bar, kind of dancing through that legendary, that's the shots that have been imitated however many times from that film. You gotta tell me you're coming back. Yeah, just a fun watch still to this day. Mean Streets and Harvey Keitel at my number 10.
We'll go to my number 10. I've got Jerry Lewis playing the character Jerry Langford in King of Comedy.
Nice.
This is Jerry Lewis playing a serious role in a Scorsese production. He was chomping at the bit to get a chance to do this. In a story from his perspective, his character's perspective in King of Comedy, he's playing the role as, careful what you wish for when you want celebrity status. So for him, that was biographical for Jerry Lewis. And I don't think we've seen Jerry Lewis taking such a serious turn in his career. And his career had kind of fallen off since the 60s, and he turned up in this, and I think he played a very good role, and he knew what he was doing. I love that performance in King of Comedy.
Nice.
Nice. Jerry Lewis, I'm sure he was kind of fucking with everybody, but he was like, everybody thinks I'm so good in that movie. I'm just playing me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of him in that, but yeah. What was Scorsese going to do if he didn't become a filmmaker?
Catholic priest.
My number 10 is Willem Dafoe in Last Temptation of Christ.
I was wondering if this was going to make anyone's list.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, this is one of those where it's like so crazy that's number 10.
Yeah.
Because I feel with like another filmmaker, that could be like, well, that's obviously that like brilliant actor playing Jesus in that really intense movie is obviously going to be 2 or 3. And that's 10. It's like this list was just, you could almost make like, I think all of us could have made like an alternate 10 list that we would have felt pretty strongly of. It's just, when people, some people see like black Jesus in their kitchen, some people see like the white Jesus and whatever. Like you say Jesus?
Willem Dafoe.
You picture Willem Dafoe as the savior.
Yeah.
All right, jumping into my number 9, Ellen Burstyn. Alice doesn't live here anymore. Let it not be said that Marty only does macho gangster movies, because this is smack dab in between Mean Streets and Taxi Driver. A character piece, a small movie, very much based on the performances. Her being a main one. Harvey's in this. He's great in this as well.
He is great.
Christopherson.
Christopherson's good.
But yeah, in certain ways, I think it's harder to play a character like she does in this than like a gangster or a kingpin, where you're always just kind of like, oh, I'm mad and I'm going to kill everybody. It's like she's really got to dig deep and kind of pull some stuff out. I think he's as you look at his whole career, it's kind of like, oh, that guy does like the macho gangster movies. Not always the case, definitely, if you kind of look between the lines. So that would be at my number 9, Ellen.
Very good, yeah.
Nice.
My number 9 is Nick Nolte playing New York artist named Lionel Dobie in the little talked about New York Stories.
All right.
It's
here we go.
3 segments, one by Woody Allen, one by Francis Ford Coppola, and Martin Scorsese's is called Life Lessons, about Soho artist who's just kind of struggling being a famous artist, and he Nick Nolte, if you had read the script and then told me Nick Nolte's playing the artist, I wouldn't have known what you're talking about. But okay. I think he is one of the lone shining stars in the whole project of New York Stories of the 3 segments. Okay. And he plays it as he's frustrated because of wherever he goes, he's the smartest and most talented one in the room, and he struggles with that. And we're told that he's such a good artist, and it's built up as him being a prominent artist on the Soho scene in the late 80s. And thank God we get a scene where he's actually flexing his craft, and he's painting on a large canvas, and it's set to Procol Harum's Whiter Shade of Pale. And my God, that shot alone of him doing his thing with that music is so Martin Scorsese. And it so cements Nick Nolte's performance. It really is a beautiful piece.
Nice. Wow. No, that's awesome. Well, my number 9 is this actor gets a lot of work, pays off a lot of debts, doing a lot of high wire crazy stuff, but I'm a big fan of restrained Nicolas Cage.
Okay.
And I love him in Bringing Out the Dead. Nice. That's my number 9. I love how it's he's almost the sanest person in the movie. That was the Scorsese call. I'm gonna get the moral center and just the compass that's gonna be kind of calm. That's gonna be Nick Cage, and then people around him are gonna be acting like Nick Cage might be in somebody else's movie.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
nice.
And that's a movie that I saw recently. I don't know, within the past 2 years, for the first time I think since I saw it in the theater. Yeah. And I was it's one of those where I definitely took it for granted. When you're dealing with somebody like Scorsese, it's his movies have to be so good in order to really register with you. Yeah. Where if somebody else made Bringing Out the Dead, I'd be like, holy crap, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Where, it's ugh.
My number 8, Leo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street.
Nice.
This was a tough call because of how many lead roles he does have in Scorsese movies, and he's always pretty damn good. Steve, you mentioned in another review we did that Leo picks good roles, and I totally agree with that. He's very selective. I went with Wolf because it's probably the film of the ones led by DiCaprio that I'll watch the most down the road. Okay. It's just as hysterical as it is everything else. Yeah. And I know you're not even supposed to be laughing, but everybody's laughing, but you're not supposed to be because they're such toxic assholes.
Yeah.
But you're still laughing because it's such a fun, crazy movie. You just get caught up in the ride. But I think DiCaprio is so good at this. He kills that entitled, pompous, but somehow you're still going to root for this asshole. He's just so good at that. It just comes alive so well. Yeah. And just, and not just him, Margot's performance, all the performances in it, Jonah Hill, obviously all led by the master Scorsese himself to bring out those performances. So, but that's my number 8, Leo and Wolf.
Very good. Very good. Good pick. My number 8 is Jessica Lange playing the role of Lee Bowden in the Cape Fear remake. Came out in 91.
Yeah.
It's definitely a co-starring role, to be sure. It's a supporting role, but I remember I saw it in the theater in 91. It came out, and I had a watershed moment personally in the scene where she's talking about the dog dying, and it occurred to me in the theater, this is what actors do. She's sitting on set in front of a camera with the entire crew staring at her, and they said go. Yeah. She started describing the family dog dying. And in the course of describing this, she begins to weep. Yep. And she gets more and more emotional.
She's shaking.
She starts shaking. And you're watching an actor act.
Yeah.
In the most purest sense. I'll tell you the scenes where her and Nick Nolte, her husband, are having an argument. That's how married couples argue. They swing low, they get mean, and I can watch those two arguing in a 3-hour movie and be thoroughly engaged.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
So I'm not gonna say she stole the movie because it's such a supporting role, but man, she was very good.
Yes.
Every scene she's in, she really took.
Nice.
Yeah, no, absolute. My number 8. This is a performance that's always been dear to me. If I could play one part in a Scorsese movie, it would definitely be this one. And it is Stephen Prince, Andy the Gun Salesman in Taxi Driver.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's such a good example how Scorsese doesn't leave anything, because you could have just been we'll just have some guy playing the gun salesman and whatever, and then Bob will be getting nutty. But that character, he's such a character.
Yeah.
And he's so you remember him. Out of all the stuff in that movie that is very memorable, you remember him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying above everything else, but I'm just saying he's like he's so part of the
look at
texture.
that little sweetheart. Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Yes.
How is he so recognizable? It's like we almost know exactly who this dude is.
Yes.
Like, of course, this is the gun salesman. And yes, of course, you have Quaaludes and weed to sell me as well. Like, obviously.
Yes.
He just, he fits it so well. And his look is so on point.
Yes.
You're absolutely right.
Downers, nebutyl, tonal, chloral hydrates. How about uppers, amphetamines?
No, I'm not interested in that stuff.
Crystal meth. I can get you crystal meth. Nitrous oxide. How about that? How about a Cadillac? I get you a brand new Cadillac with the pink slip for $2,000.
Wow, okay. That's the one you play. That's awesome.
Yes. Like, I'm not going to be like, I could play Tommy DeVito. That's ridiculous.
Sure.
I think I could play with a little bit of inspiration and good direction. I think I can pull off Gun Salesman.
Sure. I believe in you, too. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Nice. All right. My number 7, man, I got to admit, and I'm not trying to spoil or fuck up anybody else's brackets here, but I had this spot reserved for Jack Nicholson from The Departed, and I was disgruntled about it. I didn't want it to be there. And I was recently rewatching The Irishman, and I thought to myself, I like De Niro more in this than I like Nicholson in Departed. And then I was like, I like Pacino more in this than I like Nicholson. And I was like, and then I like Pesci more in this. So I went with Pacino because I think he is phenomenal as Hoffa. He channels all of his, like, Pacino-isms, the kind of over-the-topness, but I don't feel like I'm watching Pacino. I feel like it's Hoffa just kind of being like, I don't care about these guys. Have never done nothing for the union. Like, they're not going to kill me. Like, I'm Jimmy. And I buy the character. I think he's so good in it. I like the movie a lot as well, and the other characters like I mentioned. But I'm really glad that film exists for those actors' sake to kind of get those performances from them.
Okay, yeah.
Particularly in, like I said, the Pacino role. So that one bumped Jack. Sorry, Jack.
Okay.
Go easy on the rat impressions next time. And we're gonna go with Pacino, number 7 in The Irishman.
Okay, my number 7, kind of. He stars in the movie, but somehow doesn't get credit for his role. He's just in a sea of fantastic performances. I took Ray Liotta as Henry Hill in Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I had never heard of him when this movie came out. I know he was in Something Wild and turned heads with that, but he was tossed in there, and he's getting in the ring with Robert De Niro, arguably Joe Pesci in one of his greatest roles. I mean, he won the trophy for it. He and Lorraine Bracco, she was a perfect wingman for him, and I mean, the scene where he's running around with the pasta sauce and the helicopter's chasing him, he's got to drop the guns off, and it's just, it's top-notch frenetic filmmaking, and Ray Liotta is playing it so perfectly. And yes, he had help. He's being directed by Martin Scorsese, but these things they do, it's so easy to fuck this up. You know what I mean? And he kind of came out of he was a soap opera actor. He had one head-turning role. Well, Something Wild and Dominic and Eugene, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he shows up in this, and he's getting in the ring with the best, and he carried his load fantastically. Yeah. That movie's not the same without Ray Liotta as Henry.
No.
So it's my number 7.
Nice.
You could definitely argue that's one of like the best non-nominated performances ever.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Nice.
My number 7 is Nick Nolte in Cape Fear.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I love the way that part's written, because that's Cape Fear is a movie where, I love the original, I love the remake, and I just love how that, the difference of that character is sort of what makes it so Scorsese, that it's not like the good guy versus like the white bread, like Babyface. It's like they're both kind of assholes, and they're both kind of in the wrong. Obviously, Max Cady is like a psychopath, but like, the way that movie is structured, it's just so Scorsese, where there aren't really any good guys, and I know Scorsese didn't like when they first, I think the studio suggested Nolte, and he was like, really? And like, Nolte kind of had to beg to like, please give me this chance.
Really?
I love stories like that.
Really?
Yeah, I heard he like showed up at a party dressed as the character, and Marty was like, "I guess I'll let you audition."
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, you're creeping me out, man. But all right, fine.
Nick, is that you? No, I'm just a white bread attorney.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and like you said, with Jess, it's just like the whole movie is just so well performed. It's so just like high octane, and so I just you almost could have picked, like, out of the 4 leads, you could have picked anybody from that movie, and they would have made sense. In this list.
All right, my number 6. We've been talking about Pesci, and there's a lot of different places to put him. I'm going with Pesci in Raging Bull.
Wow.
Nice. I love him in this. I mean, everything is so raw about this movie, but I love how raw his performance is. He's so genuine. Like, I genuinely feel for him. Usually I don't feel for Pesci in Scorsese movies because he's just killing people, but like I feel for this guy. Like, he's trying to keep the ship right with his crazy brother Jake, and he's trying so hard to kind of do the right thing, and he just gets shafted at every turn. And then like that heartbreaking scene when Jake LaMotta catches up with him years down the road in the garage, and he's trying to talk to him, and he's just like trying to move on and live with his life. I really feel for him in that scene, and it just shows what a nuanced and capable actor Pesci is. Even this was years ago, earlier on in his career, for that performance. There's so much to be said about Raging Bull, but I love him in that, and that was my top Pesci performance goes to him. In Raging Bull.
Okay.
It's like his performance, his contribution almost makes you understand why Jake LaMotta is so toxic and so evil.
Yeah, he's so needed for that story.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Very good. It's my number 6. I've got Jack Nicholson as Frank Costello in The Departed. This almost served as the swan song to Jack's career, really. It's almost suiting that he went out in a Martin Scorsese movie. It almost would have been a shame if he played out his whole career and never collaborated with Scorsese.
Right.
In this movie, he's so Jack in every scene. He's just every mannerism, the way he delivers every line, it's just only Jack can do it this way. And you appreciate the movie even more because he is being so Jack in it. He's so perfect.
You got something you want to ask me?
Likeness of the list, I went with Leo in Wolf of Wall Street.
Nice.
It was tough. It was very tough. And I think I went there because it shows how good of a comedian he is.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's not going to do many like romantic comedies. He's not going to do many like Preston Sturges movies. So he's probably not going to he's a serious movie star who does serious movies. So we're not going to get to see him do a lot of comedy. And in that movie, he proves just how funny he can be.
Yeah, it's hysterical.
Yeah.
He plays the notes just perfectly.
Yes, he does. He does. Comedy is hard, and not every dramatic actor is good at it, and he showed that he could really do that. Yeah.
Getting into the second half, my number 5, and as Steve mentioned, this came up before, is kind of the reason that kicked this off. Sharon Stone in Casino. Nice. I just mentioned to Steve that I thought one of her performances in that is one of my favorite in Scorsese movies, and that kind of kicked this off. She just holds her own. She's one of those people that's like simultaneously like vulnerable and you want to take care of her, but she's also kind of a shark in her own way, and she will eat you too. If you're not careful. Like, she's just somebody that, to me, even if she didn't meet those characters that she meets in that movie, she's going to like be in that upper echelon of Vegas, working her way around somebody.
Just so opportunistic.
And just and able to, and charismatic and able to pull it off. And then she portrays the spiral so well. I know she even almost had health issues with like she lost weight and all that stuff, but just really believable. And just a breath of fresh air in the kind of the Casino is so overtly gangsterish and violent and harsh that it's a nice kind of juxtaposition having her in that film. A lot of great scenes. Steve and I have talked quite a few times about James Woods and her in that movie. That dynamic is crazy and all that. But she's great in that. I love that performance. That's Sharon Stone at number 5. Casino.
And I think like most fantastic performances, if you told me to name another actress who should play that role, I can't think of it.
Right.
That's her. No one else can do what she did. That was fantastic.
Yep.
So my number 5, speaking of fantastic female performances, I have Lorraine Bracco as Karen Hill in Goodfellas.
Yeah. There you go.
I think we expect so much, at least I expect so much from female actors sometimes. So when a female actress, when she gets the role that's got the meat on the bone and the material is there for you, and if they don't deliver on it, it can be so disappointing. Lorraine Bracco absolutely kills this role. I mean, she is just fierce. The scene where she's banging on the buzzer in the lobby with the baby on her arm. It's like, wow. She absolutely kills it. And Yeah, no, she absolutely could have won Best Supporting Actress for this. It's almost a travesty that Lorraine Bracco didn't.
For sure. Yeah.
You know, so yeah, she absolutely knocked that one out of the park.
She had those great eyes too.
Great eyes, like Liz Taylor.
Nice. No, yeah, classic. It's cool that they're both on your list too, Ray and her.
Right. I had to.
Yeah,
I had to.
one of our rules, you can't double up on actors, but films, of course, you can. So cool, nice,
good,
nice. My number 5. Okay, somebody tell me in a whiny voice that they want to go see The Elephant Man.
I want to go see The Elephant Man.
We're not going to go see any fucking elephants, okay? My number 5 is James Woods in Casino.
That's perfect. Comes after we mentioned that too.
Yeah.
Going to see the fucking elephants.
Yeah, and then I think that's like the one moment in the movie that I would love to ask like people on set, like, was that in the script, or like did Scorsese just go to that little girl and be like, say something about the Elephant Man to fuck with him,
and
just
James
to like needle him more. Yeah. I know James Woods has kind of like gone insane, but he'll always be one of my favorite actors of that era. And man, do I just that performance is it's almost so Scorsese. How like in another movie that just would have been like a performance in a character, where in this performance you're definitely like off put by him and you're like, oh my god, why does she keep going back, you know, it's so frustrating. But it's like you get it, he's like funny, he's engaging, he's like slimy, charismatic, and and again like you have to be almost in a Scorsese movie, he's hysterical while also like I want to strangle this person, but goddamn was that funny the way he just did that.
He's a perfect blend of hysterical and still antagonistic, where you feel how De Niro just wants to kill this guy so bad.
Oh my god,
you know.
All right, my number 4, Ray Liotta, Goodfellas.
Nice.
What are you gonna say? I mean, that wasn't said already. It's taken for granted because of how much else is going on, but at the end of the day, you're like, wow, that guy really held this movie. Not just held it together, but brought something to it on his own. He's intense in this movie. He's also, I want to say, compassionate. It might be faked, but it at least shows up that way for his wife or whatever when he needs to. Although he does seem to really care about his friends and taking care of people and everything, that his group. I think like a lot of these guys, it's all about his family, and if you're outside of it, you know, fuck you.
And I think compassion is a moving target when you choose that lifestyle.
Yes,
in terms of what you have to worry about the most at certain times.
Yes,
such a product of his environment. Like this is just this is how we do it. You grow up and you don't forget getting a job. So my number 4 is, I had to pick one Joe Pesci performance. This might not be technically the best one. This isn't the performance that he won an Oscar for, but as Russell Buffalino in The Irishman, he has a quiet charisma, we'll say. And I can watch his character riding down the turnpike. I can watch him working in his flower shop for 3 hours and be thoroughly engaged. I'm not sure why. It's the quiet charisma that Pesci brings to the role. And you understand unequivocally the power this character wields. But he does not wear it on his sleeve. He's very... The character is nuanced, but it's not obvious, and he's not beating you over the head with anything.
No, never.
You know?
It's sort of the opposite Pesci role. From Scorsese,
absolutely.
Which is
not what you would expect from such a powerful mafioso character played by Joe Pesci.
My number 4 is Daniel Day-Lewis in Gangs of New York.
Had to do it.
Had to do it. Again, it's like, I don't even know what to say.
How can you deny it?
I was going to say, like, whoopsie daisy really loud into the microphone, but it's like, it's just, there it is. Just so unbelievably good.
Is Daniel Day-Lewis in a Scorsese movie?
Yes, exactly.
No way. Like, is as faulted as that movie may be, Gangs of New York, that performance will always stand above a lot.
You know? For sure. Nice. All right. My number 3, this one kind of surprised me and jumped quite a bit with recent rewatches. Michelle Pfeiffer in Age of Innocence. Age of Innocence in general, I don't know if it's just one of those things as you get older and you just like eat more soup and you like Age of Innocence more. I was watching, I was like, God, this is so good. Like, because I think what stood out to me, it's, you know, with the gangster movies and the overt violence and stuff, obviously that stuff's entertaining and catchy to watch. With this one, it's all about the emotion. It's always about what's never said with her and Day-Lewis. And I just think she's so captivating in this movie, and I get why he's so infatuated with her.
Yeah.
He's somebody who comes from the society where everything's kind of behind the closed wall, and she kind of comes in just not giving a shit and saying what she wants, and he's mesmerized with her. And I think she's perfect for that. Like you mentioned with the Sharon Stone in Casino, like I don't want to see anybody else as Pfeiffer's role in Age of Innocence.
Yeah.
Just really nuanced, and like I said, that movie's growing on me, and it's kind of scaring me. So if we do this 20 years from now, I might just be like on the top of my list. Who knows? So
my number 3 is, in my mind, this was Leonardo DiCaprio's coming out party, where he starred in a big budget Martin Scorsese production, playing Howard Hughes in The Aviator. And he stepped in, and before this, I mean, he turned heads in The Basketball Diaries. Yeah, he was fantastic in What's Eating Gilbert's Grape. We all noticed him in This Boy's Life when
Titanic
he was a kid.
made some money.
Titanic made a few bucks. Yeah, after that put him on the cover of all the Teen Beat magazines. But he showed up in this Scorsese movie playing Howard Hughes. And he carried the whole production, and he did it phenomenally. And this was the movie that told us, this guy is an actor. He doesn't just look good. He can do it. He's in the big leagues now.
Killed it.
He absolutely killed it.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Ellen Burstyn.
Nice.
And as Alice, love Ellen Burstyn. She has such an unbelievable natural quality to her. Like when she does obviously we're talking about Scorsese movie, so there's a lot of when this person's super intense in this moment, obviously, and she just has those scenes where she's in the bathrobe in the kitchen talking about going to the movies, where it's man, she is just so in that moment and so natural, and it's so cool to think that a young Scorsese was capable of. Not that Burstyn needed much help, but of directing that movie that was just so intimate and immediate in its emotion, that had nothing to do with violence, but very little to do with violence.
Oh, I won't forget it! How dare you tell me how to bring up my child? How dare you! Where are your children?
Yeah, I just love her, love that performance. And such an essential piece of the Scorsese catalog, I feel.
It is,
because it's probably my favorite Scorsese movie where nobody gets shot. Maybe, I don't know. That would be interesting.
Jumping into my number 2, mentioned once before here, Daniel Day-Lewis. That's actually my look here. When it comes to my costumes, I'm not going to go out and buy the top hat and the red velvet shirt or anything like that.
Cool.
This is almost a modern day if Bill the Butcher worked at Bass Pro Fishing, help you out while you're doing some shopping on the weekend. Maybe demonstrating how to scale a fish, or this is a wound, this is a kill. No, it's a we're just trying to gut it, sir. We don't need to do all that.
This is a kill. This is a kill. Main artery. This is a kill.
But that's my look here. And as we said, that performance is so good. It's part of the reason why I'm so disappointed in the film in general, because he just... And I saw that when I was living in L.A., taking acting classes, 20 years old, 22 years old.
I can imagine.
And that movie comes out, and I'd only seen him maybe in Last of the Mohicans. I knew he was from My Left Foot and this famous actor, but I just as he stepped on the screen as Bill the Butcher, I was just this dude is out of his mind. And it kind of just changed. It was a game changer for me. So it was a big, influential performance. Still love the performance. I just, the frustration with the film in general overtakes it sometimes. But he is fantastic in that, man. Love it. Classic character. That's at number 2.
He's undeniable.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is Doug already touched on
Nice.
Sharon Stone as Ginger Rothstein in Casino.
Wow,
Yeah.
Nice. 2. Wow. Nice.
We knew Sharon Stone was beautiful. We knew Sharon Stone was hot. And that's what this role called for.
She was a movie star. She was clearly a movie star.
Clearly a movie star, but she never flexed talent the way she does in this movie.
Yeah.
We never saw this kind of performance coming out of Sharon Stone.
Fuck you!
Yes, right in the face. In 1995, nobody thought Sharon Stone was going to do this.
Yeah.
And frankly, she hasn't since, but hey, not throwing stones, but for this movie, for that role, she stepped in there opposite Robert De Niro, opposite Joe Pesci in a Martin Scorsese movie.
Yeah.
And she hit home runs that still haven't landed.
Yeah.
She was ferocious. She was tragic. She was beautiful. She hit it all, and she hit it perfectly.
Yeah.
And she was rightfully nominated. I think in 1995, the Academy wasn't ready to give Sharon Stone an award yet.
Probably not.
Not yet.
No.
You know, they can be political that way.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's great.
She killed it as Ginger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Nikki.
Nice.
Pesci
Nice.
in Casino.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's more, I mean, this sounds so like trite to say, but it's like, I guess, more of an arc. You know, and like when Tommy dies, you're kind of like, well, that was going to happen. And I think I've mentioned on the channel before, I usually like walk out of the room when Nicky and his brother die.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like fast forward it, but I'll be like, oh, I got to check something. I got to check the laundry, and then come back when that's over.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, it's that arc where it's like, you know, somebody who lives that life probably isn't going to end well.
Yeah.
But to me, it's just
Yeah.
like almost a little more of a shaded character. Obviously, the Goodfellas performance is like Mount Rushmore, and it's like we all love it. And again, this just goes to show that you could almost just throw a dart at one of the Pesci performances and be like, I'll go with that one today.
Yeah.
You know? And you'd be able to sleep with yourself. But yeah, I just love what he does in Casino.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah.
Well, getting down to number 1, hopefully we didn't put one role aside only to end up with the same number 1.
I know. That would be
I'm
nutty.
going with De Niro in Taxi Driver because I cannot do anything but that. It just is what it is. It's like I tried to tell myself, like, yeah, something else will nudge it.
Yeah.
It just didn't. It just had too much of an effect on me and filmmaking and everything else. The Travis Bickle role, it still holds up. It's still fascinating and funny, but also scary and psychotic, and you kind of feel like subverted yourself and like you're almost kind of losing your mind watching him in that performance. And yet still somehow endearing and kind of like even charming in a weird way.
Yeah.
Like, and that's expressed kind of through the Sybil Shepherd character, where she's kind of like, I kind of like talking to this guy, even though I should probably leave because he's super bizarre. But and he just nails it so well, and it's such a performance that gave birth to like so many other actors and performances and whatever else you want to call it. So it's just hard to take that out of number 1 for me. So for this list, so yeah, De Niro and Taxi Driver.
Yeah. Okay, my number 1. Since we made a gentleman's agreement not to include Robert De Niro as Jake LaMotta, because let's face it, that's arguably the greatest performance ever turned in by an actor. So we wanted to not go with the obvious. I'm going, my number 1 performance in a Scorsese movie is Robert De Niro as Max Cady in Cape Fear.
Nice.
I cannot read you.
Self-righteous
I cannot learn you. I cannot philosophize you, and I can outlast you. He is just
Nice.
man. If in the book the character was supposed to be more of a redneck survivalist from West Virginia,
Okay.
for whatever reason, De Niro decided to make him more of like a Southern dandy, if you will. And I think he is fantastic. The way he delivers his dialogue. You can see how this guy can somehow be charming in a twisted way. You can see how Illeon Douglas would kind of go home with him. And my God, that scene where they're together in his room, wow, that's hard to watch. It's almost as hard to watch as the baseball bat scene in Casino.
That's another one I gotta go get my laundry.
It's among those ranks. And he's terrifying. And like, what would you do if this guy is stalking you and your family? He is clearly formidable, and just the way he delivers it, his dialogue, the one-liners.
Oops. Oh, gotta get. I'm late for another appointment.
You know, like I said about Pesci, you could almost, throw an arrow at the 8 or 9, whatever it is, De Niro performances, and come up with one. But I gotta agree with Doug. I went with Travis Bickle.
Okay, I'm just glad all 3 of us did. So that was
for
sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it was, just like Doug said, it was just sort of unavoidable. I thought about, like, what if I went with this? What if I went with that? But I feel like that's one you can't take for granted.
Yeah.
It's just, like, I know we all kind of do, because it's like, sure, it exists. But I just think that, I don't think there's ever been a meeting of 3 minds that created something so special with Schrader, Scorsese, and De Niro, and just like made something that, like, if one of those 3 wasn't in the pot, it wouldn't exist, and it wouldn't have had the influence. And just to you know, people always talk about like that was a brave acting choice, and I know that's kind of silly just to call actors brave, but man, to commit to the way they committed to that story and that performance is just, I couldn't take that one for granted.
Cool. Well, we went through a list of 10, and then when it comes to, now those are 10, but when it comes to the ultimate winner performances in Scorsese movies, when it comes to that trophy, I just have one thing to say. Bring it over here. It's a piece of charcoal. Steve mentioned to me early on, like, hey, we probably are going to all be in agreement. And part of me was like, would I? And then I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, I would distill it down to Jake LaMotta in Raging Bull. The experimental aspect of it, the black and white, just how real those characters feel, how they feel like they just come into your living room. What can be said? The weight loss, the weight gain, everything about it. It's just, it's incredible. That was an obvious choice for us to set aside. And I think it worked. As far as the other ones, we had a couple overlaps, but not too many.
No, we kept it interesting. I thought that was good.
Yeah, all right. Thank you for joining us. Our top 10 Scorsese performances. Doug Turner, Michael Spill Sanducci, Steven Hido, a.k.a. Kid Flick. Thank you for joining us once again. That was awesome. Appreciate it, you guys. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Yeah, fun. We'll be doing more reviews, more stuff down the road, more content. Check it out. Reaper's Moon Productions, signing off.